West, the Portuguese who came around. And we still practice the tradition. It's not as the Yorubas who still practice their own tradition, but if you find few people, few traditional-minded men or women practicing that culture, I think it's always very interesting to have a conversation with them. I'm currently researching the oldest artist in my town, who is about 80 years. And I never knew that we had such, an amazing, legacy. And I now found out from him that most of the works that left my village to Cameroon were sold to French collectors. And I got in touch, he gave me the name, and I got in touch with one of the collectors who's in his late 70s, and also an anthropologist. So I was like, wow. So this is a very interesting time to now connect and then understand, the vocabularies, the cultural context, because most of these things could get out of context during interpretation. So I'm really very much embedded in that cultural tradition. And if you watch that, especially that film, that was a ritual process. I couldn't watch that film for about a month, a week after making it, because it was so intense. There's so much energy. So I think you should visit. Yeah, you should visit and see how if your life will be transformed. It's always very transformative, when you go there and experience. I mean, I'm not talking about spending time in the city, because you're not going to get there. Yeah, so people are going to like, oh, she's from London, no, good, But I think in the villages, it's more people who take you for who you are as a human being. They don't care if you're from, anywhere, So I don't know if I'm able to answer the question.
Should you try your question?
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. I was just going to say it was interesting to see a definition of Afrofuturism.
Right.
Because I feel like different artists have kind of very definition.
Right.
And you talked about it being about imagined world.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking that you talked about also you had a concept about poverty porn with your PhD supervisor.
Right.
And I was just thinking about this in exhibition, if it's maybe, it could be critiqued as being maybe having a bit too much environmental porn in a way, or is there enough optimism? Are you bringing enough Afrofuturism optimistic? And I haven't seen fully the films, and I'm not sure you captured it completely.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a proposal. It's a strategic proposal. How do we want to live? So this is how we're living, and this is the condition of our existence. And so how do we have a harmonious existence? Inclusive social, cultural framework, economic system that is able to drive that. So that kind of ideology, coming into place, and then it's being transformed by multiple actors. Actors come together, and work together to transform that ideology, that imagination into something, tangible, into a progressive action. So that's how I see, that concept of Afrofuturism, or even bringing in the idea of technology. Maybe because of my engineering background, I'm interested. If you watch the film, you see this massive, something that looks like a space, ship, that comes and people come out of it. So that was an engineering facility, and so I think it's just reimagining how art, how culture, how technology in the region, how that is reimagining perspective on climate change, environmental justice, race issue, if you will, and maybe, gender issue as well. Because if you look at the film, from halfway, you have women all through. And, there are other conversations why they are, partly, nude. Because this is another conversation, totally in a different level, about female spirituality in the Niger Delta. Yeah. Any other question, please?
Yeah, I've got a question.
I love the futurist aspects. And what you said was fantastic. It works amazing.
Thank you.
I like the shamanic angle. You have futurism, but yet you have this sort of reaching into this past and these people who can, or people who can see nature for what it really is and amplify it and give it back to the people.
Right.
So I just got your take on the shamanistic sort of magic aspect of the work.
Right. This is really interesting.